once again, welcome to News Tonight. My name is Patricia Lokoma, and I'm here to take you through the details of News Tonight. And of course, later on, I'll be joined by Bukenya Wycliffe on sign language. Just a little sneak peek of what we could be bringing you this day, this very day. We will be having a discussion on the distribution of mosquito nets, and of course the government is really doing their best to be able to fight the disease of malaria, but that will come a little bit later in our guest corner. Straight away into the news. President Yoweri Museveni and his counterpart, President Teodoro Obiang Nguema of the Republic of Equatorial Guinea, have directed their respective ministers to ensure speedy implementation of existing frameworks and works towards concluding cooperation in energy and oil sectors. Defense and Secretary, Trade, Industrialization, Agriculture and Transport. President Nguema is in Uganda for a one-day work visit at the invitation of President Yoweri Museveni. The return visit follows one that President Museveni made to Equatorial Guinea in August last year. The two leaders had earlier in August signed MOUs on oil and gas cooperation as well as trade and culture, among others. The protocol also laid the ground for the establishment of a permanent joint commission for a cooperation between Uganda and Equatorial Guinea. President Obiang Nguema was accompanied by the minister in charge of presidential missions, Honorable Evono Ewono, the minister delegate for external security, His Excellency Juan Antonio Bibang, and the Vice Minister for Ceremonies and other senior officials. The two leaders thereafter held official talks with delegations from both governments at State House in Entebbe. Still holding on a little bit into the presidential office, President Yoweri Museveni has today met a delegation of prospective Egyptian investors led by the Egyptian ambassador to Uganda, Mohammed Tarek Salim, who are interested in establishing a new electricity distribution company and a factory that manufactures wires, meters, and transformers. During the meeting that took place today at State House in Entebbe, President Museveni welcomed their plans and informed them that since Uganda has a high purchasing power, they have to make electricity cheap for Ugandans. He said that electricity should go for 5 cents per unit for hotels and manufacturing enterprises, and 9 cents for the units, 9 cents that is per unit for entertainment places like discos. The Egyptian investor, who assured the president that they would finance the project themselves, were promised an industrial site of 3 square miles where they would site their factory. Still again in the president's office, President Yoweri Museveni said that there is need for the country to accelerate industrialization in order to create jobs, reduce poverty, and promote inclusive economic growth. The call was in a speech read for him by the Prime Minister, Dr. Ruhakana Rugunda. Representing President Yoweri Museveni, the Prime Minister, Dr. Ruhakana Rugunda, Dr. Ruhakana Rugunda broke the ground for the construction of the China-aided Industrial Skills Training and Production Center project in Uganda at Namamve Industrial Park. Let's have a look at the details.
President Museveni has said agriculture in itself is not sufficient for modernizing the economy, adding that protracted industrialization must complement the country's agricultural initiatives to enable it achieve its goal of middle-income status. Mr. Museveni said industrialization will enhance and fast-track value addition to Uganda's agricultural produce, which will earn the country more money and also improve household incomes. The China-aided Industrial Skills Training and Production Center project in Uganda, to be constructed on a 15-acre plot, is funded by the government of China under the $30 million grant which was negotiated by His Excellency President Museveni. Museveni thanked China for its support and said the project is anchored on the 3 pillars of industrialization, which is appropriate technology, human capital, and affordable financing.
The project we are launching today is intended to address the first two by introducing modern methods and practices for machining and also for manufacturing. This project will address skills in the following specialties: mechatronics, 2, computer numerical control, and precision machining, whereby machine tools such as lathes, milling machines, grinders, and drill presses are used to produce precision metal and non-metal parts.
Museveni said the center will enable the country to address and manage its issues and challenges of skilled manpower and technology. The president thanked all partners that are involved in the construction project of the center and asked that they ensure that it's completed on time. The ambassador of China to Uganda, His Excellency Zheng Chang, said the project will spur Uganda's economic growth if supported by the country's enormous resources and also put to good use. He said the center is one of the projects that the Chinese government is undertaking under its China-Africa Industrialization Plan, aimed at helping countries in Africa to achieve their national objectives and goals. He pledged China's continued support to the government of Uganda.
In order to support Uganda to transform itself into a modern and prosperous country, to assist the industrialization of Uganda, and to address the problem of lacking skilled personnel, the Chinese government provided a grant about $30 million to construct this industrial skill training and production center. It is hoped that this center can introduce modern manufacturing technologies to the local enterprises and equip Ugandan youth with key industrial skills.
The Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation, Dr. Elioda Tumwesije, said the project will steer the country's economic growth as it answers directly to the local needs of sustainability. He said the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation will also benefit directly from the project through its machinery and manufacturing produce.
Because the President has already guided my sector to focus on 4 things. 1, to ensure that all people with innovations, with inventions, that we're able to translate those inventions into commercialized outcomes in the shortest time possible. But also 2, to ensure that we're able to increase our capacity for import substitution, to support Ugandans to make shoes, to make textiles, to make simple machines like for involved in the food industry and others.
The Minister of State for Investment and Privatization, Evelyn Anite, said the country faces a massive challenge of an unskilled labor force, which the center will address.
So with the establishment of this industrial skills training center, we are going to achieve 2 dreams. One is getting the skilled labor to feed into the factories. The other is to get the productions of the equipment. I was just having a discussion with Professor. He did mention to me that they're going to manufacture the spare parts that we have been getting from outside Uganda, within Uganda, which is going to make us to spend the money within the country and also make us to export our products to other countries, which would enhance our foreign direct investment.
The Industrial Skills Training and Production Center project, whose construction commenced on 30th November last year, is estimated to be complete by the end of 2019. The center will have 17 separate buildings, which will include the office building, teaching and training structures, dormitories, and production workshops, among others. Doreen Sasra, UBC News.
The Electoral Commission is yet to receive communication regarding conducting a referendum on the tenure of the President and that of the members of Parliament. The Commission's chairperson, Justice Simon Byabakama, says the Commission will act after receiving formal communication. He was addressing the media during the issuing of the by-election roadmap for Jinja East constituency.
I want to say that I'm touching the Constitution with no gloves, so join me.
Shortly after Parliament amended Article 102B of the Ugandan Constitution, Vice President Edward Kiwanu Kasekandi clarified on Christmas Day.
Gonosoma Constitution, waliwo ensonga ekwata ku kachapter kakwata ku President ebbanga linaki akoko nammwe mwennyini abantu ba Uganda mwenna mulina role gye mujja okukola.
He said the amendment was not conclusive and that a referendum would be held on the tenure of leadership at all levels.
Ekiseera kijja kutuuka akakiiko ak'ebyokulonda kabateeketeeke mugende mu kuba akalulu kwekyo kye twayisiza. Therefore ekyo tekinaba completed nti muli baddembe mwetegereze mugende nammwe mugikwateko.
Acting Minister for Information Chris Varyomunsi says Cabinet would pass a resolution backing the holding of a referendum.
We shall have to undertake a referendum to ask the people of Uganda to harmonize the term of the president with that of the rest of the government.
While issuing a roadmap for Jinja East constituency by-election, Electoral Commission Chairperson Justice Simon Byabakama said they are waiting for formal communication.
It's difficult for me to predetermine the time frame when this referendum will take place or how long to take place. But when the time comes, we shall let you know. When the time comes, when we roll up, for example, the time for a by-election, it only begins to count when Parliament gives you notification.
The Electoral Commission also banned all fundraising activities in the Jinja East constituency by-election.
The purpose of the ban, as usual, is to allow a leveled ground for all candidates in the race. And this ban takes effect from Friday, the 2nd of February 2018, which is also the cutoff date for registration of voters and the transfer of voting locations in the constituency.
Recently, Court of Appeal declared the seat vacant, citing the fraudulent results at some polling stations, which rendered the election of Nathan Igemenaweta invalid.
All candidates are urged to observe law and order during this exercise and conduct their campaigns in accordance with the harmonized program. Hate, malicious, or abusive language is prohibited under the law and will not be tolerated. Polling day, that is voting, shall take place on Thursday, 15th of March, 2018, at all the polling stations.
These political rivals Nathan Nabeta and Paul Mwiru faced off at an election and court level with regard to election malpractices. Jinja East constituency voters remain with the task of choosing a legislator in the March 15th by-election. Henry Okrut, UBC.
Well, that's the referendum on age limit there happening. And then moving on into the refugee state, the donor organizations have been cautioned against duplication of roles in their humanitarian cause in the West Nile region of Uganda. According to the Arua District Chairman Wadre Sam Nyakoa, resources have been spent in helping the refugee population in refugee settlements with little results. Sharon Chomgisha reports.
West Nile region of Uganda hosts thousands of refugees, mainly from neighboring South Sudan, following the war outbreak in December 2015. Arua District Chairman Wadri Sam Nyakua observes that ever since UNICEF, World Bank, UNHCR and DANIDA have assisted the refugee population.
So our appeal is UNHCR and all partners who are investing money and other resources in the area of wars must consider abstracting water from the nearest river Nile, and pumped to water storage tanks and distributed to the beneficiaries in pipes.
The concern is on duplication of roles by the development partners, financial constraints, destruction of the environment by the refugees, and illegal migration of thousands of refugees to urban centers like Arua town.
We have over 30,000 of them who are here. These ones go to our schools, they go to our churches, they go to our markets. Okay, markets would be a good thing because they're buying food there. They go to our health centers, they go to our water points. It causes problems.
This was during the flagging off ceremony of a team of humanitarian and donor organizations touring refugee settlements in the West Nile region. Onesmus Muhwezi of UNDP and the chairman of Environment and Natural Resources Development Partners Group explains the mission.
We'll be visiting the refugee settlements. This morning we'll be going to Rhino camp, refugee settlement camp, to be able to interface with the people affected by the conflict and assess what kind of environment and the water and sanitation needs they have to inform development partner support towards the comprehensive refugee response within Uganda.
Uganda hosts an estimated 1.5 million refugees from countries such as Somalia, DRC Congo, South Sudan, Kenya, most of them fleeing conflict, with an average 7,000 entering Uganda daily. Sharon Chondisha for UBC News.
Now into political affairs, the political and technical team in Kampala have clashed over the Minister of Kampala's Affairs directive of stopping resumed ordinary council meetings of the authority, saying they are not provided for in the law. The Lord Mayor Erias Lukwago attributes the current divisionism in Kampala leadership to the Minister of Kampala's maneuvers to have the 2015 KCCA Amendment Bill passed into law.
A scuffle erupted between KCCA technical and political team during Thursday authority sitting after the technical team led by the Deputy Director, Legal KCCA Ouma Charles, decided to follow Minister for Kampala directive that stops resumed ordinary meetings. Councillors argue that the technical team disrespected the Lord Mayor and political leadership of Kampala but remained loyal to the Minister for Kampala Affairs, who refused them to go out, although some managed to escape. On resuming the meeting, the personnel manning the speakers also refused to switch them and was attacked by the councillors. Before they would handle business on the order paper, the Lord Mayor first presented a letter dated 23rd Jan 2018 to the authority from the Minister for Kampala Affairs, which indicated that the resumed ordinary meetings conducted by the authority are illegal. The ministers later will evaluate all authority and urban council meetings held since May 2016 on service delivery. Councillors proposed an engagement with the minister to explain the essence of the letter, but the Lord Mayor Erias Lukwago was exceptional.
Yes, the minister has raised an issue. We are not rubbishing it, but we are saying, can we proceed with today's issue? And we comprehensively engage her on the matters she's raising.
Minister, as a way forward, can we get ourselves before the minister and discuss this issue and get out of the way, so that we are able to discuss the business of this authority when we are clear of the way where we are going.
Has misinterpreted the law. The minister, for obvious reasons, she has misinterpreted the law.
Your worship, the minister, in the ways of the minister, and she has given a direction that we don't have this meeting. So if we go on and have this meeting, then she can advise.
There is a journey the minister is taking, and I'm not ready to accompany her there. Personally, I'm not ready to accompany her that journey. I mean, in that direction, I'm not ready to accompany her because she's saying what is the relevance of you here, what is your relevance? When subsection 1A and B of section 7 is scrapped, is removed from this act, and the functions are vested in the minister. You're not making policies, you're not setting service delivery standards, so what role is left?
Director Legal KCCA, Ouma, told authority that there is a directive in the minister's letter since she has the power in the law to give directives.
If we sit in this meeting, we will have participated in what the minister has already declared. If we go out, we miss out on the discussions which are pertinent on the order paper, which concern our operational issues.
The Lord Mayor Elias Lukwago has written to the minister to appear on Monday in a special authority sitting to discuss how to regulate the border industry in the city. I'm Nafka Farida and Gloria Gwitavinji.
Quite a scuffle there, as Nafka Farida exclaimed. But of course, that ends our first segment. We're going to go for a very short break. But when we return, your health is very important. We're going to be talking about the distribution of mosquito nets in our guest corner. Stay with us. Welcome to our guest corner. Once again, I'm Patricia Lukoma, and of course on set I'm joined by Dr. Matthias Severi, the District Health Officer of Wakiso District. Like I told you in our introduction, our focus today is on health, and in particular we are looking at the distribution of mosquito nets. We all have questions there and here, but the very first thing, Dr. Matthias, the very first thing I would want to understand, it looks like your focus mainly right now starts with Wakiso District. Why could that be so?
Yeah, malaria is one of the leading causes of deaths and also morbidity in the country, and as well as within Wakiso District. And it's one of our priority areas as health workers or as the health department that we want to focus on, so that we prevent the unnecessary deaths and also unnecessary morbidities within the district.
Okay, so what are the levels of morbidity within the Wakiso District? Yes,
within the Wakiso District, I would say majority of the patients who come into outpatient clinics, say over 27%, who have been confirmed to have malaria, and then also over 17% of all deaths within the district are due to malaria. So that poses those challenges. People are dying, people are coming to facilities because they are sick. And then also the children, most under 5s, even those who are, say, below 15, they end up missing school because they are sick. Even the productive age like you, actually, once you are sick, due to malaria, you call in sick. So, and you find the mothers who are pregnant, they end up getting miscarriages. And then the children end up having some mental retardation due to cerebral malaria. They might fail to thrive, and a number of other effects due to one problem, which is malaria. Yeah, it's caused by a tiny mosquito.
Very tiny mosquito.
Yeah, and it can be prevented in a number of ways.
True.
Yes.
True. Okay, so now the distribution the distribution campaign is ongoing. It's already in process.
Yeah, I can't say.
Are you starting?
Yeah,
is it already?
No, it's in the process. Because we began with the registration of the households, of which we registered 3 million people within Wakiso. And we are targeting.
Did you cover the entire Wakiso?
We covered the entire Wakiso. And then our target is to give a net to every 2 people.
Okay.
So that means we're going to give 1.64 million nets. To the people of Wakiso.
So if the family has got more than 2 people, then they qualify for more than 1 net.
Yeah, so if you have 4 people within your household, you get 2 mosquito nets.
Okay.
If you're 1, of course you get 1.
Okay.
If you are 3, then you get you get 2.
You get 2, not 1.
Not 1. Yeah, you
on
get
average,
2.
then the quantification doesn't match there. But are we really covering? Because my worry is, I think I'm living in part of Wakiso.
Which part?
I've not had any form of census that walks into my home asking, how many people are you? I've not had any head count in our region.
Okay, yes. In December, we did a household registration whereby our VHTs moved from house to house. They were registering people to ascertain how many people are within the district. I don't know how they missed your area. Probably you will share with me the area later on.
But maybe what I would want to understand, Doctor, is are people embracing this? Because I know health campaigns usually are never embraced by the public. A lot of people, when you knock at their door and say, we are counting heads because we want to give out mosquitoes. Not everyone is going to embrace that. How so far has the public embraced this?
Actually, I must say that the public has really embraced this because registering 3 million people is not easy, which means they willingly came for registration or they were willingly registered. So the public has embraced this. We've been on different platforms, on different in the communities, on different media houses, and people actually are calling in and they are saying we've been registered. Those at that time that are not yet registered were registered. So registration got done. Now what we are currently doing is that we are completing delivering the nets to the stores. Where they are guarded, and come this Saturday and Sunday and Monday, we shall be giving them out to the people within the communities. And the mode of giving them out is that we have gazetted 982 points where people can go and access and pick their mosquito nets. That is on Saturday, this very Saturday, Sunday, then Monday shall bring the mopping out, those who didn't receive their mosquito nets. And
now we want to know the safety of these nets. How safe are they?
I was coming to that, yes. The mosquito nets are very, very safe because they have been checked by World Health Organization and they have been checked by the Ministry of Health. And they have said they are very, very safe.
And they have also been checked by UNBS.
Yes, UNBS. She has also checked them. They are safe to pregnant mothers, safe to the unborn babies, safe to the children, safe to everyone. However, when you get your net on Saturday, Sunday, or Monday, first hang it out probably in your room or somewhere for about a day.
Why?
So that because they are insecticide treated mosquito nets, which means they have that chemical which is supposed to kill off all the mosquito nets, the mosquitoes, sorry. Which means that as you hang it out, the excess and extra.
You hang it within, indoors or outdoor?
You can hang it outdoor, or you can hang it But the idea is to put off that excess chemical which could have been within the net. After that, begin using your net for the next 3 years. It gets dirty, you can wash it and reuse it.
And some people are going to ask, what about if I get the net and wash it first before I use it?
Yeah, in case you want to wash it first, you can still wash it, but don't use bleaching agents. Yeah, because they will, in a way, disorganize the chemical which is supposed to protect you against the mosquitoes.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Matthias Saveri. If you have anything that you need to emphasize to the public, kindly you can speak into the camera.
Yes. First and foremost, I thank all the stakeholders who have been into this, the Ministry of Health, our local government, our donors like Global Fund, DFID, TASO, and all our stakeholders, the politicians, the community, everyone is into this campaign to make sure it's a success. And I'm appealing to my brothers and my sisters in Wakso district, please let us use these mosquito nets.
Are you using one?
Yes, I'm using one.
Did you carry one for me?
Sister in Wakiso, probably you get one. Yeah. Please don't use these nets as wedding gowns. Don't use these nets for fishing. Don't use these nets to squeeze juice or to make
kwete. Oh my God.
Don't use these nets to cover over your nursery beds. Let us use these mosquito nets appropriately. Let us not sell them into Chikubo or into hotels. And around May, we shall be doing an evaluation with the Minister of Health to see that whether actually people were using these nets
or not.
Or they found they were in Chikubo, or someone found his lover and they ended up using it as wedding gown. So,
Dr. Matthias, thank you so much.
No worries.
I hear, don't use those nets as as wedding gowns. And that was the very interesting one. Well, straight away into our next story before we go into that break, the Lord Mayor Arias Lukwego has urged the Minister for Kampala Affairs to cooperate with other leaders of Kampala to come up with strategies of addressing insecurity in the border industry within the Kampala capital city. This follows the arrest of Border 2010 leadership faction that has been engaging in criminal activities indicating that the industry is not regulated. We do have details on that story.
The border industry is in the spotlight following the arrest of Border 2010 leadership for alleged involvement in criminal activities. With this happening in Kampala, the leadership of the city is instituting guidelines to regulate the border industry. Early in September 2016, the Lord Mayor Arias Lukwego received a copy of a letter from Minister for Kampala on the state of border industry and its management.
On several occasions and listened keenly to their issues. Broadly speaking, many believe that each border faction has got a godfather in either the IGP, the coordinator of Operation Welfare Creation, KCCA, and to some extent the Minister for Security. And you know who the IGP is, General Kale Kayihura. Coordinator Operation Welfare Creation is General Salim Sare, and to some extent the Minister for Security, General Henry Tumukunde. Factions suspicious of KCCA believe that the institution had a hand in the creation of a certain faction and therefore has some partisan interest in the management of the border sector. So that is the situation as presented here. That actually there are several factions, over 50 factions within the border industry. And for you to streamline the industry, to reorganize it, you must deal with this situation. Because there are several factions. And according to Muchala Betty Kamya here, to Madame Betty Kamya here, according to her, each faction has got a godfather, either in the name of IGP, Coordinator Operation Welfare Creation, or the Minister for Security. These are all godfathers who have come up with different factions within the border industry. And this is a fact. Madame Betty Kamya knows this. You just move around and carry out a survey within the border industry here in Kampala. You'll find most of those border operators, you'll find quite a big number of border operators here in Kampala having pistols. They are armed. Some of them are armed. So you'd ask yourself, who gives them these rifles? No, not rifles. Who gives them these guns? Who? And for what purpose? You'd ask those questions. Who is arming them? Who is giving them these arms? And for what purpose? And who are they within the security circles or within the security system? Who are they? These are border operators. So that renders credence to the assertion here that actually these factions have got godfathers within the top echelon of the security system in this country. So,
in her letter, the Minister for Kampala Affairs, Betty Kamya, said the border industry has a number of factions. Lukwego wants the minister to appear in council to explain her letter and see how to regulate the industry.
You read this for yourself. The Director General of ISO, in his letter to me dated 13th August 2016, titled Update on Challenges Affecting Border Operations in the Kampala Metropolitan Area, raised serious security concerns based on the management of the border sector. His letter was copied to the Minister of Internal Affairs, Works and Transport and Security. You can imagine. This is a communication from the minister indicating that she got a statement from the Director General ISO updating her on the challenges affecting border operations in the Kampala Metropolitan Area, and that you should underline this, and that the Director General raised serious security concerns based on the management of the border sector. These are the issues we want to share with the minister. What are those concerns? Those serious concerns. Those serious security concerns that were raised by the Director General ISO in regard to the management of the border industry in Kampala. And these serious matters.
Where will I get this information? So this is what the minister writes. And she says she got this information from the Director General, ISO. So what are those security issues within the border sector as raised by the Director General? So we don't have details here. We are not privy to the details of those security matters which were raised by the Director General, ISO, and the Lord Mayor here in Kampala, and all these elected leaders. We are kept out of the picture. We are oblivious of these issues. Now she goes ahead to say we should enact the ordinance to regulate the border industry. There I agree with her. We must enact this ordinance.
She proposed an election organized by the Electoral Commission and the elected leadership managed by KCCA, whose plans had been frustrated by factions prejudiced against KCCA neutrality. The process has been delayed by regulations to guide border elections, which have to be made by KCCA technical team. I'm Nafka Farida and Gloria Gwitavinji reporting.
Now on our health desk, Uganda Heart Institute requires $60 million to construct premises so that it can start diagnosing and treating heart problems within the country. The executive director, Dr. John Omagino, told journalists that the first ever coronary artery bypass grafting results of a 45-year-old Andrew Kasozi have been so far successful. Kasozi underwent an open heart surgery on Monday performed by Ugandan surgeons at Mulago Heart Institute. We have details.
Uganda Heart Institute at Mulago Hospital wants government to avail funds for construction of a permanent home where it can start performing cardiac operations. The executive director, Dr. John Omagino, told the press that the institute was presenting results of a patient who underwent a coronary artery bypass grafting operation. The patient, 45-year-old Andrew Kasozi, is steadily recovering. There is a team of cardiologists, surgeons, and intensive care specialists to perform cardiac solutions.
The coronary bypass surgery was the missing link, which we have now achieved, and we are celebrating with the rest of the nation this achievement. This has been made possible with funding from the Uganda government.
Since acquisition of a fully-fledged unit which has been built over time, the Heart Institute can now operate both children and adults. Omagino, who was flanked by medical technocrats, applauded sponsors who have supported patients to acquire the expensive surgeries, proposed a public-private partnership, if possible, to enable fast construction of premises. He called on Ugandans to save millions of shillings and approach the Heart Institute instead of traveling abroad for treatment.
The cost, when compared to referring patients abroad, which on the average costs US dollars $20,000 to $30,000, the $5,000 is a very low and highly subsidized. At least it is a quarter of what you would spend.
Doctors William Munanira and Tom Mwambu were the key surgeons in the operation of the coronary artery bypass surgery.
One we call off-pump. Remember, I've just told you that in order for us to operate on this heart, we must stop the heart. But now we have newer techniques.
The process or the disease can recur in one way or another. But we do everything possible using drugs to try and prevent this.
The Monday coronary artery bypass grafting on Kasozi, performed by Ugandan doctors alone, was an achievement to the Heart Institute. After 3 days, Kasozi can now walk around the world. Abiona Francisco and Cosmas Banyonya for UBC News.
Well, thank you, Habiona there, and Cosmas. It was quite a success there in the cardiac theatre. Still in the health sector, many Ugandans are born with disabilities, though if dedicated and diagnosed at an early stage, the disability can be managed. Now, according to the World Health Report, 360 people suffer from hearing loss, yet they can be candidates of the cochlear implants to manage the situation. TMR Hospital in Nalia carries out the cochlear surgeries to avoid one from becoming deaf. Today, clients who received their first surgery came back for mapping to give in the electronic power to the cochlear implant so that the hearing nerves can be awakened. Mohammed Shahid, an audiologist with an experience of 18 years in the field, says the patients need to be taken through the process to ensure the implant works well.
Done by a surgeon, a skilled surgeon. He inserts a wire, we call it electrode, inside the damaged cochlea, okay? And then this electrode will stimulate the auditory nerve, right? That's why we can then hear. The internal part, it's made of that electrode and a receiver, which will receive the outside sounds.
When they get out, she told us why they have stayed in theater, that the bone grew, and now they drilled it. Like us, you see, drilling the walls, and it wasn't easy. For me as a parent, as a human being. But I'm wondering, she got healed so soon. I thank God for that. Now we are waiting to see.
Time to look at what's making headlines in the business and over into the Buganda Kingdom. Uganda needs to develop market-oriented innovations in science and technology to achieve desired transformation within the economy. According to Buganda Kingdom Premier Charles Peter Mayiga, this only requires strategic guidance and support to existing innovators. He was presiding over the Buganda Royal Institute of Vocational and Technical Studies 12th graduation, where selected excelling students exhibited their innovations. We have details.
Did you know that your car battery can power your house, home appliances, and even run a micro business? A mechanics and motor engineering female student at the Buganda Royal Institute just simplified this system. All one needs is a car battery to produce the power and an inverter to convert it into its usable form, the alternating current. This is one of the innovations that students have exhibited at the Institute's 12th graduation ceremony. Buganda Kingdom Premier Charles Peter Mayiga hails such innovations in transforming Uganda if well developed, guided, and market-oriented.
Most innovations which have changed the entire world were simply started by simple people, pretty much like the students who are innovating things we have witnessed. As you innovate, do not think about money. A good and relevant idea will inevitably and eventually lead to money. But an idea that is conceived purely for money may not pass the test of time.
1,200 students have graduated with the certificates and diplomas in various technical, arts, and vocational courses after excelling in UBTEB exams.
$427 are graduating with the certificates, while 773 are graduating with the diplomas. There has been a slight decline in the number of graduating students, largely because of the change in the certificate programs from 1 year to 2 years.
Samuel Garandi, UBC News.
Time to look at what's happening in sports. And of course, FIFA has partnered with sports broadcaster. FIFA has partnered with Sports Broadcast, a new player in the broadcasting, to take up the commercial and media rights of the Uganda Premier League, the FIFA Big League, and the FIFA Uganda Cup. The 4-year agreement has had $3 million invested by Sports Broadcast to acquire the rights. Emon Ngabo reports.
Uganda Football Top League, the Lower League and the Uganda Cup have been taken on by Sports Broadcast, owning all commercial and broadcasting rights. FIFA has signed an agreement to a tune of $3 million that is to be shared among the three competitions. 240 league games will be broadcasted, as well as investing in other sports disciplines, making the first local sports venture to earn such huge sum of money.
If you're not in football to make money, then you can look for where else to be. We bring money and we acquire these rights to make money. We are not acquiring the rights to put them in the shelves in our companies. That's what GTV wanted to do. That's what SuperSport wanted to do. That's what Azam was doing. And that's what we're doing. We don't acquire rights. We acquire rights to sell them and to make money because we're in a business. And for us, and as you people, I want to beseech you in this room that if you're in here in football and you're not going to get money, then you're in the wrong place. Start thinking of ways of how you can earn money, and all of us in football should get money.
Uganda Premier League has been under Azam, a Tanzanian-based company that owned both the naming and broadcasting rights, with this contract expiring in June.
The interesting bit of this is that with the new sponsorship, with the new acquisition of the broadcast rights, for us, why FIFA we put signature on paper, is that we are not talking about only the Uganda Premier League, we are also talking about the second tier. And like Dennis put it, always 6 clubs are candidates of the second tier. Of the 16, either they have just been from the big league or they are going to the big league. And this is 6 out of 16. You are not going to have the Premier League strong and stable without having the feeder league strong and stable. So there are specific resources for the first time that are going to be put in place. The same clubs which play in the big league and the Premier League play in the Uganda Cup. And we believe that these games will also be put on TV. And for me, it's not just TV. But we have an opportunity to put our games even on the free-to-air TV channels.
Sports Broadcast, a Uganda-owned company, revealed capacity to broadcast 8 league games live on a day. Meanwhile, local clubs continue to strengthen ahead of the second round of the 2017-2018 season. Currently, reigning league champions KCCA have been in Kenya having a series of trial games. Ngabo Emon, reporting for UBC TV.
Now, still on the local scene, all is set for the season opener Motor Rally Championship. Organizers have promised to make it a worthy challenge for the drivers that will hustle over 309 kilometers, 194 kilometers of which are all competitive. Notable among the 40 drivers that entered for the event are Chris Takis Fidetis, Susan Mwonge, Ronald Seboguzi and Ponciano Rakataka, who despite driving an old Subaru 98 is optimistic that results will go his way.
I'm called Rakataka Ponciano, from Uganda. Yeah, I've already prepared my car, and I'm very happy. I've got a new sponsor on board, which is Operation Waste Creation and Recycling, and many others. There are very many, I can't mention them. There's Wasa Events, there's Masashi Auto Garage. So Sozi Geoffrey, Kilabu Vegas of Mbalala. So now the car is well prepared, and I'm only waiting for the day this weekend to show that, yeah, please, all the boom know how to swim well. So those who was imported the new cars, I'm not worried of them. So I want to assure you, all my fans, please be firm. I'm confident even I can win them. But I will not minimize them. I respect them, but I don't fear them. So come all, support me, and once you cheer me, that will make me to win this event.
Well, that does it for us. This ends News Tonight Bulletin. Of course, thank you so much for being a part of us. Wycliffe has something to say. He's actually saying, you've been a wonderful audience. Well, from us and the entire news team, I'm Patricia Lokoma. Thank you so much for being a part of us. We say good night.